It was Halloween night, October 31, 2004, in the tranquil vineyard-lined streets of Napa, California. The city was known for its serenity, safety, and wine culture, a place where crime felt distant, almost unimaginable. On that evening, in a cozy two-story home on Dorset Street, three young women, Adriane Insogna, Leslie Mazzara, and their roommate Lauren Mianza, had just spent the evening handing out candy to local children dressed in costumes. The house had become a warm and welcoming home for the trio, who had formed a close bond through shared goals and ambitions. Adriane, a civil engineer working for the Napa Sanitation District, was intelligent, driven, and meticulous. Leslie, originally from South Carolina and a former beauty pageant winner, had moved to California to build a career in public relations. Lauren, who had also relocated for professional pursuits, felt lucky to share a space with two women she had grown so fond of. As the night wound down and the last of the trick-or-treaters faded into the distance, the roommates began to settle into their routines. The women said their goodnights. Adriane and Leslie headed upstairs to their bedrooms, while Lauren remained downstairs. It was just like any other night in their peaceful home. But what none of them knew was that a killer was lying in wait, silently watching and preparing to shatter their lives forever. In the early hours of November 1st, just past 1 a.m., the silence was broken by the sounds of muffled thuds, glass breaking, and terrifying screams that jolted Lauren awake. Confused and horrified, she struggled to understand what was happening. She could hear scuffling noises and what sounded like someone being attacked upstairs. Panic surged through her body. Without knowing what else to do, she climbed out of her bedroom window and hid in the backyard, crouched low to the ground, her heart pounding as she listened in fear. She could hear someone fleeing through the house and exiting the same window she had escaped from. She remained frozen until everything fell silent. Then she gathered enough courage to call 911. When police arrived, what they discovered inside the house would haunt even the most seasoned officers. Upstairs, the bedrooms were in complete disarray. Adriane Insogna was found in her room, having suffered numerous stab wounds. Blood covered the room and pooled on the floor, a horrifying testament to the brutal attack she endured. Investigators would later report that Adriane appeared to have fought back against her attacker, struggling to survive before succumbing to her injuries. In the adjacent room, Leslie Mazzara was found also dead from multiple stab wounds, lying on her bed, clearly caught by surprise in her sleep. The attacker had climbed through a downstairs window, crept up the stairs, and attacked them while they were most vulnerable. The crime scene was both chaotic and chilling. Blood evidence was abundant. Forensic investigators quickly determined the severity of the violence. This was not a quick or clean killing. The attacker had been sloppy, leaving behind not only physical evidence but also emotional devastation. Detectives meticulously combed through the home, collecting every possible piece of evidence. Among the most critical discoveries were cigarette butts left just outside the house. They were a unique brand, Camel Turkish Gold, one that wasn't particularly common. The presence of those cigarettes indicated that the killer may have been outside the home for a while before making his move, perhaps smoking and watching the house, building the nerve to go in. It suggested premeditation. The small city of Napa was in shock. The media descended and fear spread quickly throughout the community. Two young women had been savagely murdered in the middle of the night in what appeared to be a targeted attack. The surviving roommate, Lauren, who had fled in fear and had not seen the attacker, was left traumatized and shaken. She could offer little detail other than the sounds she had heard and her brief glimpse of a man fleeing the house. Police launched an intense investigation, interviewing hundreds of people and gathering DNA samples from friends, co-workers, neighbors, and acquaintances. But months passed without a match. Leslie's family had traveled from South Carolina in disbelief, consumed with grief. Adriane's parents, devastated and confused, could not understand why anyone would want to harm their kind, soft-spoken daughter. Both families waited anxiously for answers as the investigation dragged on for nearly a year with no arrest. The case was becoming colder by the month. Still, detectives refused to give up. In a strategic move, investigators released the information about the unique cigarette brand found at the scene, hoping it would jog someone's memory. This proved to be the pivotal turning point in the case. One of Adriane's co-workers, Lily Prudhomme, came forward voluntarily. Her husband, Eric Koppel, smoked Camel Turkish Gold. She said she didn't believe he could be involved. but she felt compelled to inform authorities. Detectives had not previously considered Koppel a suspect, but with this new lead, they requested a DNA sample from him. Eric initially refused to cooperate, a red flag for investigators. Just days later, in a surprising twist, Koppel walked into the Napa Police Department accompanied by family members and an attorney. He sat down and confessed to the murders of Adriane Insogna and Leslie Mazzara. His DNA matched the blood and the cigarette butts found at the crime scene. After nearly a year of anxiety and fear, the case had finally broken open. Eric Matthew Koppel, 26 years old at the time of the murders, had no criminal record. He had married Lily Prudhomme, Adriane's close friend and co-worker, just weeks before turning himself in. His connection to the victims shocked everyone who knew him. During his confession, he admitted that he had entered the house through an unlocked window and carried out the killings with a knife he brought with him. He had initially planned to kill only Adriane but stabbed Leslie as well, perhaps because she woke up during the attack. Investigators and the public alike struggled to understand his motive. Koppel never offered a clear explanation for his actions. It was speculated that Adriane may have encouraged her friend Lily to leave Koppel due to troubling behavior in their relationship. Perhaps resentment, jealousy, or a sense of rejection boiled into violent rage. The lack of a clear motive only deepened the horror. This wasn't a random act. It was personal. He knew the victims. He had attended gatherings with them. He had been inside the house before. And yet he chose to murder two innocent women in their own home. In the courtroom, Koppel sat expressionless as the families of Adriane and Leslie confronted him with their pain. One by one, relatives spoke of the bright futures their daughters would never have, the holidays that would forever be marked by absence, and the haunting memories that would never fade. Leslie's mother described how her daughter was planning a future in public relations and still wrote to her childhood friends. Adriane's father shared how his daughter had worked tirelessly to become an engineer in a male-dominated field. They had both been women of promise taken far too soon. Eric Koppel pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. He spared the families the agony of a trial, but no amount of remorse could bring back what had been lost. In December 2006, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently incarcerated at Pleasant Valley State Prison in Coalinga, California. Lauren Mianza, the surviving roommate, rarely spoke publicly about the night that changed her life, though she did give a victim impact statement during sentencing. She expressed the lasting trauma she endured, not just from the horror of that night but from the loss of her closest friends. The murders of Adriane Insogna and Leslie Mazzara remain one of Napa Valley's darkest and most heart-wrenching crimes. In a town known for beauty and calm, this act of violence pierced the illusion of safety, reminding everyone that danger can hide behind the most familiar faces. The house on Dorset Street was eventually sold. To this day, people who remember the case still struggle to make sense of how a quiet, unassuming man like Eric Koppel could harbor such violent darkness within. The story is one of trust betrayed, lives stolen, and a community forever changed. If you'd like, I can expand even further into the psychological profiles, the specific forensic evidence found, courtroom testimonies, or the timeline of the investigation. Let me know how deep you want to go.